All right. Since I'm here, let's make another video. Um, you know what? I noticed that I make better videos when I'm walking because I can think freely, right? But when I'm sitting down, I'm too caught up in, oh, there's a camera on my face. So I'm concentrating on that and not my thought. So I don't flow naturally with. What's up, Chloe? So I'm gonna try a different approach. I'm gonna try to make the points in my book, and that might help me get into the flow of my thoughts without worrying or thinking that I'm in front of a camera, because I'm not comfortable yet with recording myself. It's just weird. I don't know. Chloe's drinking water. Okay, so this video will be about rounds, when to do them, and when they're unnecessary. I've been doing rounds for 2 years. I'm fully recovered. I'm fully recovered, but I'm also going deeper. I haven't stopped my rounds. I don't use my rounds for health reasons anymore, or symptoms, or anxiety. Let's turn this off. Oh, that's so quiet. Oh, that's nice. I use my rounds for, it's almost like a meeting with yourself every day. I find if you have a meeting with yourself, you have a plan of action and you move forward. It's almost like manifesting. It works for business. It works for relationships. Any problems that come up, life events. So I've used it for everything in my life, and I'm going to keep using it until I'm 98 and a half. So yeah, I still do rounds. They're very important. I do them every day. In the morning, the first 10 minutes, what I do is any emotions that are, bugging me, they're going, yeah, can we work on this? Because my brain always brings something to the platter, on a platter, silver plate, and goes, what's up with this? I'm confused about what the. So then I'll go, okay, let's organize that, put that here. Okay, that's bugging you. Let's feel the feeling. So I've made a practice of always feeling emotions. If it's shame, anger, fear, guilt, any emotion, all of them, happiness, I'll be like, bring it to me. What is it? Oh yeah, that makes me angry. Well, let's feel it. Let's get angry. Let's really get angry. And then I let it go, like a balloon. So I think that's a good practice to have, because then you take the loads off your body. I think it's really important. So then I do my rounds. I might do maybe 10 minutes of a past memory to get into that dose, which keeps that limbic system baseline going lower and lower and lower and deeper and deeper. And then what I'll do is I'll go into a future round or session or visual. I call them visuals. And my visuals will be, I say them in a way that they're happening now, that it's assumed that it's happening now, instead of I will do that or I hope I do that. It's more like, let's say it's a car. I want to get, I'll say I want to get a Corvette. I'll say the Corvette's in the garage already, and I got a good deal on it. I got a good deal on it. And it's blue, but I wish I got the red one. But I got a good deal on it. So, right? So you're getting very specific. And then I got the certain tires, I got all season, but I wish I would have got just the summers, because I'm never going to take it out in the winter. So I could have saved some money. Right? Even if this doesn't exist, I say it like it's happening. So that's what I use my rounds for. And it puts me in a dose. Right? Dose meaning dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, which lowers your baseline of your limbic system, and your brain hardwires it in. So you keep going deeper and deeper. So lately I've been, getting to the swing of life. I've been living my life fully for the past year. I'm eating foods freely. All foods. which I'll do a video about foods. That's a huge topic, and I found a little secret loophole that's going to help a lot of people. That's different. Because what I did is I used all the techniques that I learned for processing anxiety, intrusive thoughts, triggers, and I implemented those with my physical symptoms and my food sensitivities that I had. So yeah, I've just been getting in the swing of things, eating freely, and the only negative thing that recovery has brought me is gaining weight. Because once you're able to eat foods again, you feel free and you feel like, you know what, I'm gonna taste the whole rainbow of foods again because I miss them. I miss eggs, I miss eating bread, I miss eating cake, I miss eating chili, I miss eating, and then you're on a food tour. Just Christmas. No, I'm not cutting anything out. I'm eating everything at Christmas time. Somebody brings cookies over, we're eating all the cookies. We're eating. So yeah, weight gain happened. But you know what? It was for a good reason. It was because I was happy. So now I'm at the point where, okay, I've had enough fun. I'm recovered. So now I'm going to get back to eating healthier, getting back to getting a good balance with foods. So rounds, when to do them right, or visuals, right? With DNRS, I noticed that people, this is where I'm different than DNRS. I do exposure therapy with my rounds, with the elevating, living your life fully. Some of the pillars are equal, some of them are different. And not to say, I love DNRS because it was a good stepping stone for me. It forced me to learn what worked and what didn't work. And if I would have never had DNRS, I would have never went through that path to where I am now, where I became my own guide and learned better techniques. So I'm sure I'll get some flack for what I say about other programs, but that's my opinion and that's the truth. Anyway, so my exposure therapy is different than the normal exposure therapy, because there's points in it that are very important that are different. So with exposure therapy, let's say for example with DNRS, you do your rounds. Usually it's 1 hour a day, right? So I did that 1 hour a day. Some people break them up through the day, and then they also used rounds for incremental training, right? And for me, I thought that was unnecessary, but I understand why. So when you have incremental training, you actually trigger yourself with something that's giving you problems. Let's say it's a smell. So you have a smell, you get triggered, your limbic system elevates, and you get the alarms ringing. Mayday, mayday, right? So when they say to do a round, what they want you to do is sit and dose, which tells the brain that the response, the perceived danger that it's sending, the alarm that it's sending is wrong. Because your response is, when you sit in the fear, by traveling to a dose memory, let's say it was you in the 6th grade swimming with your dad at the beach, it puts you in dose, and it's telling the brain, no, we're not freaking out. Look, we're in dose. We're calm. We're sitting here being triggered by this danger, and we're here thinking about a memory of me swimming with my dad and eating burritos, and we're having a great time, and I'm going through the little details of that day. It was sunny, and I was wearing my blue shorts, and the little details that puts you in that dose. So the point of it is to change the association of the perceived danger to one of safety, which turns the alarm off eventually when you do it a bunch of times, right? So my version is different and it's faster and it's better because you get right to it. So let's say you're triggered, you allow the trigger to be there. And with you sitting in the fear, in the danger alarm and doing nothing, that alone sends the message that the perceived danger is incorrect, because you're not freaking out. You're not doing the avoidance behaviors. You're not trying to figure it out, ruminate, trying to fix. You're not distracting, because when you distract, what you resist persists. So when your response is different, it tells the brain, okay, well, he's not freaking out. He's not running around. He's not doing these other methods. So maybe he's not in danger in this situation with this smell that's giving him a trigger. So then when you keep doing that, you keep allowing the trigger to be there and do nothing, and you sit in the fear, you could be freaking out and be like, you have fear, but you're sitting in the fear, right? And when you allow it to be there and do its thing and running crazy, and you invite it in, you ask for more, you let it do its thing, and you picture it coming through and passing the other way, you're letting it go without resisting and fighting it. Because when you fight it and you resist it, it elevates your limbic system, and then you keep getting stuck, and the brain hardwires that in. So when you just allow it to be there, it's reprogramming the brain to tell it that the perceived danger is wrong. And that's it. You just allow it. Allow the trigger to be there. Allow the stress response to be there. Feel it and engage. That's a big important thing. Let's say you had the smell. Let's say you went to a restaurant, you had a smell, and you got triggered, and you're like, oh shit, what do I do? Well, allow it. Keep going. Allow it and ask for more. Take that second to be like, yep, I'm triggered. My body's going into a war zone right now. My brain's is having an alarm. My symptoms are popping up. Go, you know what? I understand. And you're aware of the thought. You're aware of the trigger. You're aware of your symptoms. You're aware of that smell. And instead of going into around, just sit there and sit in the fear and allow it. Let it run wild. Go, you know what? Give me more. Give me more. And that alone, even if you don't say give me more, even if you say nothing, if you actually do fucking nothing, that is a better message and gives the same message of safety doing nothing than it would be to, what the hell is that? What's going on? Oh, I gotta do something. I gotta fix it. Right? Because there's the resistance, and it tells the brain, yep, that alarm that you sent was correct. There is danger here. Keep sending it. And the brain goes, all right, keep that alarm on. He's freaking out. He's resisting. He's going like this. So we got to keep that alarm on, right? It's all how you respond. And know that just because you feel fear and you feel like shit, you're having symptoms, while you're sending the right response does not mean it's not working. Because it takes time for it to switch over, for the alarms to turn off. Actually, it's this shitty feeling, it's the shitty days that you have where the recovery is. So that's why I say my version is better, because it's quicker, right? Right when you're having that trigger, that smell, and you get triggered, you deal with it right away by allowing it. And then you engage. First allow, then you engage in whatever you're doing. You're having drinks, you're talking to some people, you were, playing arcade games, if you guys were, wherever you guys are. If you're at a restaurant and having dinner, you got triggered, something happened, a smell came, and it set your body to full alarm, allow it to be there. And you know what? Engage in conversation. Like, yeah. Blah, blah, blah. So you're doing it quick, right? And with repetition, that's doing the same thing, recalibrating your brain to tell it that it's safe. Now, the DNRS version is you have to have it around. So, well, how do I get into that flow of a round? Because for me, I've always noticed getting into rounds, especially when you're in the thick of it, is very difficult. Even when you give yourself time in a car or a space that's quiet. It took me about 10 minutes to get into a flow of a round, a flow of a visual. Because you have to think of one, because your brain is too busy looking for danger. So you have to think of a memory. Usually have it written down, a bunch of memories, and you pick one because you have a book full of your memories, and you go, boom. So you're not dicking around looking for a memory. And you go, boom, I got one. Okay, let's work on this. It's me at the beach when I was 7. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, I got to get into it. So I was at the beach. And then you keep going to that trigger. It keeps going, no, fuck the beach. Fuck the beach. No. This alarm, that smell, that smell, because it's doing its job. It's trying to protect you, keep you alive. It senses danger, perceived danger. So it's slapping you on the face. It's putting you in the stress response, and you're there trying to think about you when you were 7 years old at the beach. You're trying to get into that zone, but it's hard. So what do? So you tell, I just need to go use the washroom. I'm going to be excused. Sorry, I'll be right back. I'm just having a a trigger. And people are like, yeah, go ahead, go to the so you get in the washroom, and then you're turning this into an event, right? So you're in the washroom, you lock the door, and you look in the mirror, and you're like, all right, I have to get a round going. Let's get this round going. So you sit on the toilet, you're like, I was 7 years old. What was the shorts were red or blue? I don't remember. They were red. They were, you're trying to get into the flow, but it's not working because you're actually resisting the alarm. So you're forcing a round in there so you can sit and dose, so you can recalibrate the alarm that you're safe, but you're actually putting resistance in there. And it's very difficult to find a memory or a round at that moment when you're, out in public at a restaurant and trying to grasp that dose. That's very difficult. Not just restaurants, anywhere. So I find rounds are better when you spend the time, for me, that 1 hour a day. Just focus on your rounds, get them done. That's it. And when you're triggered, when you're doing incremental training, for me, it's called exposures. I call it something totally different. When you get triggered, which you're supposed to be, that's the whole point. You're supposed to show, here's the danger you think is dangerous, and we're gonna change the association. By doing that, it takes forever the DNRS way. My way, the exposure is allow it. You're dealing with it right then. You don't have to get into a flow of things. You're dealing with it right then and there. You're allowing it. You're actually forcing it to come with you. So you're going, come here. No, I want you to come. You're not going, no, I don't want you here. You can't be here. I got to get around. Wait for me. I got to go find something. I thought, that takes forever. So that's why the process is longer, because you're dealing with resistance. You're dealing with trying to get into the zone, and it's more difficult. We don't want things difficult. We want things to be a lot easier. So take that work out of there, all that energy that you're spending trying to fix things, trying to get into the zone of your round. You did your rounds today already. Leave them alone. You got rounds tomorrow. And be in the moment where the trigger is and allow that trigger to drive you crazy. If that's one of your fears, well, we're going to go crazy in front of everybody. Good. I hope you go crazy. And I hope people think that you're melting, like that Indiana Jones scene where that guy was like melting when I think it was the Ark. They saw the Ark and then they started to melt. Right. So hope that happens and agree with it. And guess what? You engage, it tags along, and there'll be another trigger 2 minutes later anyway. So don't worry about this trigger. There's going to be another one. And the contents of the triggers don't matter anyway. You're just teaching your brain and recalibrating, and this is going to be constant. So don't make it into an event where you got to go to the washroom and do a round. Or even if you're at home and you ate something or whatever, I got to go do a round. That's a long process. That's an event. Why don't you just deal with it right then and there and allow it? Go, yeah, you're triggered. You feel scared. That's good. Get uncomfortable. The more you get uncomfortable, the faster you will recover, because that's where the recovery lies. It's how much can you feel like shit and allow it to be there. Not, I can't be uncomfortable. Let's avoid uncomfortableness. No, we can't be uncomfortable. No, you want to have the discomfort. Learn to be discomfortable as much as possible, because that's where recovery is. Don't look for the good days. I've had people say to me, I had 3 good days. It was really good. Like my anxiety, I felt fine. And then all of a sudden, bam, it hit me. And I feel like fucking shit. What the fuck's going on? And I'd be like, well, you know what? Those days that you had, you're on vacation. And today, it came back. That's where the work is. You want the shitty days. Look for the shitty days. When you have a week of, if you're in an ebb, I had an ebb. That means a spike ebb for 8 months straight. I didn't have one good day in between. 8 months straight, constant, with symptoms. I had like 60 or 70 symptoms. But I had a mental ebb for 8 months straight. And then, I had a couple of days where I felt great. And then I went back to my ebb and I was like, what the fuck's going on? And I had one of my friends tell me, she's like, she also recovered and she used the same methods that the new methods that I learned. She said, yeah, you were on vacation, but guess what? Now you're getting back to work. And the more you put work into it, the more you go towards the fears and the triggers, the more you hunt those what if thoughts, that's where the work is done. And that's how you recover. So it's like, it's up to you how fast you recover. And it can feel like you're taking 3 steps back because you are. You technically, with exposure, when you expose yourself to all the symptoms and triggers and sensitivities and thoughts, mental thoughts and triggers, when you expose yourself to them, you will have a response. You will feel like shit. And that's what you want. You have to. You have to go through the fire to recover. You can't avoid it. People are too busy trying to avoid it. And it doesn't work, right? So then people get stuck. So they might be doing the DNRS program for 5 years and they're still triggering. If you're still triggering after a year and a half, you're doing it wrong. Let me tell you. Straight up, let me be crystal clear, you're doing it wrong. If you notice that you're still triggering a little bit and you notice that you're getting less triggers and it's improving, okay, that's fine. Everybody's a little different. Instead of a year and a half full recovery, could take you 2 years full recovery or 2 and a bit. But as long as you see that the triggers are tapering off, okay. But if you're triggering a year 2 and year 5 the same, just as strong, you're doing it wrong. And I will go through more videos about what works and what doesn't work. Today's topic was rounds, when to do rounds and when they're not necessary. And I find that sometimes rounds are unnecessary because they just turn into an event. It just draws it out and it takes longer, right? So make it easy on yourself. Just allow whatever trigger that is there to be. And I got other videos that talk about triggers and OCD, looping thoughts, intrusive thoughts. But this goes for body symptoms also. So if you get control of this area and understand how this works, your brain, the body follows the brain. Because you know what? They're all alarms. The brain sends alarms and the body sends alarms. The symptoms are just alarms that manifest. That's it. So, yeah, so I did a video today about opposites. You don't need to do them. They don't work. And this one is about rounds, when to do them and when you don't need to do them. So my goal is to show people how to do things the fastest way. The fastest way, not saying that they're the easiest, but the fastest way. And the easiest, like in a way that you don't have too many steps. You don't have to, dig for trauma. You don't have to dig for this or that or decipher, is this, that, or this, have all these different categories. I like to make it all simple, put it under one umbrella, and you have the same response for everything. You don't have to decipher or worry about core beliefs or worry about trauma or digging for anything. You just put them all on the shelf, same shelf, and have the same response to everything so that your limbic system, the point is so that your limbic system calms down, not raises. You don't want it to get heightened. We want it to calm down, and the brain will hardwire it into a new baseline. And then things start to work again. Symptoms go away. All of a sudden, you start feeling better. Physically, you start thriving. You don't get sick anymore. You get your brain back. All your triggers and intrusive thoughts, fuck off. You actually get the opposite. You start getting happy intrusive thoughts. So, I hope this video wasn't too long, but I'm trying to work on that. I'm trying to make some videos where I'm walking because I get in the better flow of my thinking when I'm walking. But today there was too much ice on the ground and I didn't want to fall and break my front teeth and my back. So how's it going, Chloe? So yeah, we'll wrap it up. And call it a day. So I'll try to do a video on a new topic every 2 weeks. So if you have any topic ideas, oh, I think the next one will be food sensitivities. I'm going to give you all the golden nuggets about food sensitivities and tell you about all the things that don't work and you don't need to do. So this is going to be a good one because I've been through it all, tried it all, and I made lots of mistakes. And I'm going to give you all the good nuggets and tell you what not to do. So with exposure therapy, this angle, my method, why it works better is DNRS's way is, okay, you have your stress response. Okay, do a round. Try to get into the flow and sit in the dose. This way you're going to tell your brain that you're safe because you're thinking about when you were a kid with your dad at the beach, which is also a response of not being in danger. And then the brain recalibrates, right? My version was to, you're doing exposure because you're being triggered. You're exposing yourself to the trigger, whatever it is, if it's the smell or whatever you have a sensitivity to, you trigger yourself to it. With exposure, this version is a little different because people assume that exposure is you go somewhere. Let's say you're afraid of a field for some reason, or a mall, or a mall. Let's say your exposure job for that day is to go walk through the mall. And what people usually do is when they walk through the mall, they go, all I gotta do is walk through the mall and then I'm done. Okay, that's my exposure therapy. So what they do is they walk through the mall and they're like, all right, we got 5 more minutes and then we're done. Right? And then of course their brain, their body's sending the stress response to the trigger like it's supposed to. The alarms are going wild. It's trying to protect you. It's doing its job. And you did it on purpose. That's what we want to do. We want to trigger our limbic system. This is like the incremental training. And you get a stress response. And what people usually do is they freak out during the stress response, during the exposure, and they're surviving through it. And then after they're done, they're like, okay, I'm done. All right, we did it. We did the exposure. Yeah. Whew. We're safe. That was hard. Hey, that was hard. That mall or that store, sitting in that store, that was brutal. But we made it. We survived. That's great. We'll do it again tomorrow. We'll survive through it again. And that's where the exposure therapy doesn't work, because what you're telling the brain is, yeah, I survived through that, because survival means danger. So that's just telling the brain that the perceived danger alarm that it sent was correct. So guess what? You did that exposure therapy and you just taught the brain to keep that alarm on. So nothing's changed. Right? So you have to remember, when you're doing exposure to a trigger, whatever it is, it could be a thought, it could be something that gives you a sensitivity or a smell or a field or a store. Whatever it is, when you go do that exposure, make sure you don't survive through it. Make sure you allow the triggers to be there, allow the stress to be there, allow the symptoms to come up, manifest, and run wild while you're doing the exposure. That's very important. Do not white knuckle through it. Don't go, yeah, we're almost done. 5 minutes to go and we're out of here. Yeah, fuck. This sucks. Right? Don't do that. Don't white knuckle and don't survive through it. What you want to do is the opposite, or do nothing. Do nothing. Just go through it. Feel the alarms. Allow them to run wild. And when you do that, you're given the same response of safety. And then when you do that over and over again, it goes from a 10 to a 7, might go up to 11, might come down. Then after it goes with repetition, goes from a 10 to a 7, might go back to 11, to a 6, to a 5, to a 3. The more exposure you do without white knuckling or surviving, with a proper response of safety, the brain will recalibrate and turn off the alarms one by one. And then guess what? You can walk into the store without being triggered. The symptoms don't act up. You don't get a rash. You don't have that elevated heart beat. You won't get all those other crazy symptoms that people get that are in fight or flight. It starts to calm down. Your limbic system starts to calm down, right? So that's the difference between doing exposure therapy correct versus the other way that's wrong, which just keeps it there. Because it's all about communication with the brain. right? We want to communicate the right response, not the wrong response. The right response tells the brain to change the association and to turn off alarms. The wrong response keeps the alarms on because the brain is your security system. You program the security system to ring and to go off at certain times. You're the one that taught it that, not the other way around, right? So keep that in mind when you do exposure. Send the proper response. All right, that's it.